Welcome back, Mech fans. I am Omar Krieg. Olaf is off, but this is the Triple Press Week in Review for Week 9. We finally made it. We've completed the regular season. It's time now to review where things stand and look at how the playoffs are going to start off coming in this week. So let's take a look at our overall standings as they are as of now, once I get on the right screen. In a shocking move, although maybe not so much shocking to some people, certainly to me. In a shocking move, the Lyran Debutantes have scored just enough points to tie with previous leader Merrick Industrialists. They are both now sitting at 92 points. Now, the GTL League of Officials have determined that the Lyran Debutantes will be considered number one simply because they have more wins than any other team in the league. Thank you, Grimdark James, for pointing that out to, further your own position. You slimy. No, I shouldn't say that. James is a great guy. I'm trying to be sarcastic, but of course you can't see my face, so you can't see. Look. At any rate, so we've got the Debutantes and then in the Industrialists leading at 92 points, followed by the Golden Suns at 82, the Dragonborn nipping right behind them at 81, Honeybees moving up to 5th place with 68 points, and the Torian Nationals rounding out the top 6 for the playoffs. Going into the preliminaries, the Dover Crows with the Rock City Wolverines right behind them, Cyan Spirits and the Remoran opposition. Looking at our kill board here, it looks like we have Clift at the lead with 10 kills individually. Zhao from the Industrialist sitting at 9. Vampsy, who of course was injured and is out for the remainder of the season to include the postseason, with 8. And then it starts to drop off down into the muddling crowd near the bottom. Now, what's interesting to note, of course, is the Debutantes with overall 18 kills against the Industrialists 17 and the Dragonborn 15, and that's where the slope starts to get pretty wide. Golden Suns at 12, Crows at 10, 8, 7, 6, 6, and 5 for the remaining teams. Take a look at our wealth and growth. First trend that's very easy to note is that, generally speaking, the teams that are doing really well are doing really well financially, although that's kind of a no-brainer. The Dragonborn are showing a low growth at the moment, but that is mostly because they've recently picked up a stadium, and then they had we'll get into what happened this past week. But other than that, yeah. Wolverines, they're just a team that's been struggling the whole season, but it's hard to do better financially than what they've done when you haven't won a single match. We'll talk about how that turned out for them this week as well in just a moment. Draftees, we had a couple of new numbers to add in. The Golden Suns and the Honeybees having both lost the most players from their teams. The Spirits and the Industrialists right behind them with 8. The Wolverines, despite their losses, their significant number of losses, they have also lost a few pilots and technicians as well. And then somehow, some way, Dover Crows have managed to dodge every single draft bullet thrown their way. And they have not lost any of their players from their original starting lineup. Let's talk about what happened this week. Canopian Honeybees sitting at 5 wins and 4 losses. This week they took on the Davian Golden Suns, and in a surprising turn of events, the Bees stood up to and beat the Golden Suns. Although, let's be honest, it was more of a points-based system that allowed them to win. But you know what? When you've got a Shadowhawk versus a Jenner, killing a Shadowhawk is worth more points, and that's what gave the Honeybees their victory this week. Speaking of the Davian Golden Suns, now sitting at 6 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Their Week 9 opponent, of course, was the Honeybees. We just talked about them. A match where not everything went very well to the Davians' favor, and a match where the Bees were, shockingly, the winner instead of the favorite team, the Golden Suns. As we mentioned a moment ago, it's the matter of the points that got the Bees up the Suns. Dover Crows, now sitting at 4 wins and 5 losses. They took on the Cyan Spirits this week, and they beat them fairly handedly. Who knew a pair of jumping heavy mechs would be a secret stat to take the win? I'm being a little sarcastic with that, but effectively that's what happened. 2 quick draws, and I want to say it was a Jenner off the top of my head taking on the Spirits. Ultimately, those Those quick draws, they could just reposition relatively easily, and I think I lost a lot of initiative in that fight. That just gave Talus the opportunity to just get ahead of me and stay ahead of me. Luthien Dragonborn, now with, you read that right, 6 wins and 3 losses. This was a powerhouse team that took a big loss this week. Funny thing about that, the Rock City Wolverines fighting tooth and nail to get to where they are. Dragonborn already logged in the playoffs and said, you know what, pilots, go out there and have fun. Doesn't matter what happens. And you know what happened? The pilots had a lot of fun, but the Wolverines won. Listen, this was a great match no matter how you look at it. The Wolverines got their first and only win of the regular season. We'll talk about what that means for them later. But yeah, it was a fun match, and the Dragonborn are like, yeah, we don't care. We're in the top end of the board. We're definitely in the regular playoffs. No biggie. No matter how this match turns out. Lyran Debutantes. This is probably one of the biggest moves of the week. Lyran Debutantes now sitting at 7 wins and 2 losses, the most wins for any team in the league. They took on the American Industrialists, who have been holding the number 1 position since about week 3. Once again, superior maneuverability wins out again, and the Debutantes with a light mech kill takes a lead just large enough to be declared the victors of the match and thus claim the number 1 standing position for the season. Grimdark James specifically said, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember exactly what he said, but he specifically said that he was going to be a sneaky bastard to get this win. And he had a couple of options for the terrain, and he chose the lesser of the 2 possibilities. Thank Jesus, because mechs burn in lava. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you haven't seen the video, there may be more discussion that you can catch on that. James is a sneaky, crafty little bastard to play against, but it was a great match. Unfortunately, it went in his favor and not in mine. So, with that, the Debutantes are now number 1 in the league. Congratulations, James. You've literally taken your team from the bottom to the top in the season. That's and it may have sounded like my sarcastic tone, but I really do mean that, because taking this team from near bottom to the top was no easy challenge, I'm sure. American Industrialists, 6 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. This week they took on the Debutantes. We were just talking about them. And with a lack of jump jets against a team that had nothing but jump jets, in this terrain, which was heavy woods, the outcome was only predictable. The Industrialists did keep our losses to a minimum. We lost the Elf Scout, but that was also just enough to give the Debutantes enough points to win instead of having a draw. And so Merrick's are supplanted. They are knocked out of their number 1 position into the number 2 position, which is still a great place to be, but let's be honest. The Industrialists having been dethroned by the Debutantes, this is a move that's not going to be forgotten anytime soon. Insofar as role-playing and storylines and whatnot go. More in opposition, now sitting at 3 wins and 6 losses. In a strange matchup, 2 mechs were pushed from the legal match area, but the third, an opposition mech, going down was what really sealed this loss for the opposition. Listen, I remember this. I did a DFA landing on a mech that pushed a opposition hunchback off the map because of the stacking violation. Cool. And then later I decided I wanted to push a stalker just to see what would happen with a push, because I had never done it in Mega Mech before. And well, now the stalker got pushed off the map. Later on, I beat the crap out of the other opposition mech, and that's how that match played out. If you watch the video, it was kind of funny in some ways. Otherwise, it might be a little slow and boring. But I personally enjoyed that match, even though I was playing against the bot. No, I was playing against myself because I had to make sure the mechs didn't actually shoot each other. But it was a fun match to play, nonetheless. Rock City Wolverines, 1 win, 8 losses. Listen, we talked about them a minute ago. Here's the weird thing about the Wolverines. I personally built this team within the rule set to represent Detroit, to represent Michigan, and to represent Clan Wolverine, the not named clan, depending on where you're at in the Battletech universe. Obviously, we're in 3025 in the Inner Sphere. None of these things mean anything except Detroit and Michigan, maybe. But here's the thing. The Wolverines, in this instance, versus the Wolverines in the lore, very much the same thing. They came, they got the shit kicked out of them, and now they're leaving. The Wolverines will not be returning in the 3029 season. Effective the 3026 season, there will be another team taking their place. All of this, of course, based on what kind of player base we have for this campaign. But the Wolverines will be leaving. That said, they did get a win this week But again, I want to point out that the Wolverines were fighting tooth and nail to get every point that they possibly could so they could get out of the preliminaries. Meanwhile, the Dragonborn were just out there having fun. I feel like if a dragon fought a Wolverine, that's pretty much how that would go. The Wolverine's fighting for its life, and the dragon's just bored. I digress. Cyan Spirits, 3 wins, 6 losses. They took on the Dover Crows this week, and they were just basically outplayed and outmaneuvered throughout the whole match. Again, this is a match where the Crows had 2 quick draws going up against whatever the Spirits brought that, off the top of my head, it was probably it was a Cataphract Thunderbolt combination, I believe. Listen, at the end of the day, the Crows just outplayed me. I couldn't get enough initiative to save my life. I tried. I lost. We're moving on. Torian Nationals, 3 wins, 6 losses. They took on the Remoran opposition. This is that match I was talking about with mechs being pushed off the map. Ultimately, taking out the opposition Warhammer after all the other stuff that happened was what needed to happen in order for the Nationals to not only win their match, but also to get enough points to be placed in the top 6. The Torian Nationals, the one team that everybody used to make jokes about, and in the story, the Torian Nationals, nobody believes they'll get anywhere. They have made it into the playoffs, and every team ranked beneath them still has to prove to everybody else. Speaking of the playoffs, let's take a look at the brackets. Number 7, Dover Crows taking on the Remoran opposition. The winner of that match will move on into the quarterfinals to face the Lyran Debutantes. The Rock City Wolverines at number 8 taking on the number 9 Cyan Spirits. And the winner of that match will face off against the American Industrialists in the quarterfinals. So for this week coming up, you can see we've got the Crows in opposition, and we've got the Wolverines and the Spirits. The remaining 6 teams will have a... Oh, excuse me. The remaining 6 teams will have something of a bye week this week, as far as any rules or anything like that are concerned. That actually, I think it helps one pilot in the league. And then, of course, it's not VAMC. VAMC is the one that is out for the remainder of the season period. Something like 60-odd days initially. So that's like several weeks of recovery time. Preliminaries matches, as I said, we've got the Dover Crows taking on the Remoran opposition, and the Rock City Wolverines taking on Cyan Spirits. Now, a question was brought up: how are we going to handle home team assignment? If you look at, let's go back to it. If you look at the brackets, it would think, and one may think that use whichever team is listed on top. Well, that's the problem, is that you're based on where your position is going to kind of set you at a disadvantage. So we're going to randomly determine which team has the home team advantage. Now, this is important more so for the teams with stadiums, of which there are 4. Those teams with stadiums will get a +2 bonus on this roll, which is basically just a 1d6. Higher number gets the home team advantage. But when it comes to crunching numbers for fans and wealth and things like that, and as well as choice of terrain, that's where it'll be important. So 1d6 roll for each team. If you have a stadium, you get a +2. Whichever team wins will be the home team for that match. And of course, these rolls will have to be determined prior to the match, because I need to have the match set up and ready to go. At any rate, let's talk about Olaf's predictions. Crows versus opposition. Quite likely, this is going to be a Crows victory. The opposition can manage to put a decent team up onto the board, onto the field, but I just don't see them standing up for long, especially if the Crows bring out their 2 quick draws again. Now, he did get a couple other mechs fixed up this week, the Imp and I believe an Awesome. So any of those mechs can come out and could make the dynamics very much different, but I still don't see a way for the opposition to win. And off the top of my head, without looking at the opposition roster and what they can field, I feel like the opposition is limited in what they can put on the field. Wolverines versus the Cyan Spirits. Wolverines, similar to the opposition, they have only, I believe, they only have a couple of mechs. I could be wrong, but they can put up a team. Listen, here's the thing, too. I think the Spirits are going to win, first off. But you all know, I just spent a moment talking about the Wolverines and my whole concept or philosophy for the Wolverines. They were meant to represent something from Michigan, something from Detroit. They were supposed to kind of sort of represent Clan Wolverine, even though they don't exist in 3025 in any way that anybody in the inner sphere would know them as. But they were my NPC team of choice for lore slash trolley reasons, and they just did not accomplish shit. They've been a bit of a disappointment for me all the way up until this last victory. And that victory, I kind of feel like it was just given to them. They earned it on the board, but otherwise, knowing that Dragonborn weren't there entirely for the match, it is what it is. So the Wolverines will, as it says here, may or may not return. I just said I'll be honest, I'm probably not bringing them back. I think story wise, it makes sense for the Wolverines to leave. Now, Olaf, as a character, always favors the underdog, and nobody is more underdog than the goddamn Wolverines. So, with that being said, Olaf is definitely pulling out all the stops to back the Wolverines into this match, and hopefully through the rest of the tournament. Or he'll just be crying into his Rasalhagian beer again, because that's probably what's more likely to happen. All right, that is what we have for our week in review for week 9. Stick around. There's plenty of action coming still. We have something like 9 matches in this final tournament. My math might be a little off. It might be 7, but regardless, we've got the preliminary rounds, we've got the quarterfinals, the semis, and then the actual finals, and we will know then who is the Trinity Cup champions for the 30-25 season. Stick around. Come join the Discord. Do the like, follow, subscribe button pushing things on Twitch and YouTube, whatever it is. Come and find out. Come and hang out. Maybe even playing one of our games. Who knows? At the end of the day, we're having a lot of fun, and we hope you are too. I'm going to get out of here because I'm starting to ramble. Stay safe, my friends. This world is a dark and crazy place, so make sure you're doing what you got to do to take care of you and yours. And as for me and mine, we're out of here. We'll catch you next time.